all the belts were laying around the combines, and it was, the combines had 100 hours on them, and the companies wanted those belts to analyze them when they had 100 hours on what they needed to do. And that's how Harvest Brigade would just follow us and keep books on it, and did.
So on your off hours at night, they came out and changed the belts?
They were there before us in the morning, or, yeah, it was, when we came to the field, they had them all scattered out and put them all brand new ones on. And, like I say, Harvest Brigade, Massey just followed us. And I know one year we came out and I said, here we have all our new combines. No, he says, they're not new, they're just changed.
Now, you know, we can remember from our harvest years, our dad, we cut for some people for over 16, 17 summers. We grew up with those farm kids.
Yeah.
Now, how many years did you cut for some people? You got a run going and came back every year. How long did you cut for some of those people?
Well, there was one outfit, Kretz, Deer Creek, Oklahoma. It must have been only about 1 year short of 30.
Wow.
And then in Montana, there's
Delmer Schmidt.
and Les Howard.
And Les Hour and Delmer Schmidt.
Yeah, and those people,
So you, Randy, grew up with those kids too.
Yeah, but the one advantage we had is that there's 3 of us families going on,
Yeah.
on the harvest.
How many other kids with the Regier brothers?
Well, there's, Leanna, Norval had 3, and Leland had 4.
Oh, that's
So
7.
that's 7, there was 9 kids in the group, so, and we were basically a traveling bunch of hobo family. We, you know, some people look down on the wheat harvesters, you know, call them stubble bums and weedies and.
I remember that word,
You
weedies.
name it, we never knew that we were that,
Yeah.
you know.
We were in Grandview, tell them that we were in Grandview, Montana.
Yeah, we went to, bought a horse-drawn vehicle out of Virginia City, Montana, which is by Great Falls, Montana.
yeah,
And so on the way back, you remember we stayed in Harleton, Montana?
Yes.
That year, you
Yeah,
said.
that was a 1-year deal.
A 1-year deal. And so we actually went back to Harleton, Montana, and saw all the buildings. The building where we stayed, a Sky State,
Oh, you
was
did?
still there, but it's totally stripped on the inside. You can't.
oh,
And but yeah, and so we even came past Broadview, and that grocery store on that side of the street is still there. And you remember, I can still remember saying the only thing they carry is milk. But that store is still there. That just amazed me. It was a lot of fun to just take that same trip back and see what's what.
I know, I'd like to make the whole trip again sometime when I retire.
Yeah.
I don't know if Norma wants to go with me, because it doesn't mean anything to her.
Well, but yeah. The stories you can tell as you went, it's so intriguing that, you know, I ate it up.
Did you go 1 year, Ronnie?
Yeah, well, I actually went with Leland. Leland was short a helper. Leland Regier was short a helper that 1 year.
oh,
And so I went, and that was the year that it just rained and rained and rained. So we came till here, and then, it's that guy that could carve from Canada or whatever it was. He could carve so good. He was a good friend of Ruth's. But anyhow, and so then I stayed home, and that was a year that we were still harvesting wheat when they came home from harvest, when you guys came home. Because it rained and rained and rained and rained, and we swathed it, and the weeds grow through it.
67.
But then the next year I went with them.
I remember one thing about the harvest that kind of registers for me. We were clear up in northern Montana, and we cut clear against the east side of Glacier Park.
Is that right?
Right against, there was nothing between us, and it just, it's the way it was formed, and that's what, you remember all the strip cutting.
Yeah, oh, yeah,
Just,
yeah,
the whole country looked at it,
yeah,
and that's all gone.
yeah, that's awesome.
I have just a short story about after high school. I went with your dad
Oh, yeah.
harvesting Frederick, Oklahoma. And Frederick, Oklahoma. And Dad said, well, okay, you can go, but when the harvest is on here, you have to be home. So I went with Ray, and like I said, it rained a lot. But the whole thing was, we stayed in a kind of a cotton shack, you know, years ago, the lot of cotton there, but this is old farmstead, and Ray and I, we cleaned out that house. I mean, the dirt and the dust, and that's where we stayed in that old house. And so now we're gonna go to moving, and we had just about a quarter mile from where we stayed, there was a little station there, and Ray said, well, I don't remember if I turned off the ignition on that combine, you know. When you put it back on the truck, it's just like you use the starter and, well, you just drove it on slowly. And I said, well, Ray, I'll go out there and check it out. So I climbed up on the machine, of course it was on the truck. I forgot that it was on the truck.
Oh, no.
Yeah. You talk about stupid. But anyhow, then I stepped off of that machine, and I came back on my back right into that. The station had pumps there, and they were built up on little concrete, and I just missed that barely. And it just like, and I hit that concrete, it maybe would have killed me or done something to my brain. And maybe made me smarter, I don't know. But the whole thing was, I could not walk. And it's like, did I break my leg? Something. But anyhow, I stumbled back a quarter mile back to the shack. And the next day, we went north, and it's just like, we got to a country doctor, Dr. Schlichting, and he said, well, you got a bad sprain, little bone broken in your leg there, and he said, I'll tell you what, I'll give you these crutches, and you use those crutches. Can you see me greasing a combine on crutches? I never got used to those crutches, but anyhow, the story was then, it's time to go home. And took a train from Oklahoma City to Wichita. And then that was my harvest time with getting a harvest story. But it was just like quite a deal. But Ray, you know, just like, he was we had tough times there, you know, and we took a bath in an old concrete well, it was a tank of some kind. I think we got dirtier after we got out and came in.
Well, now, the first year that our folks went out
Yeah.
was the summer of 1952.
That's when I graduated high school.
And I was 6 months old. Rosalie was 3. And well, 53, his first year out. Now, they had a small trailer, but no running water in it.
Hmm.
And Mom went with you. Our mom went on the harvest. Do you remember that?
No,
Not that time?
No,
Okay, this might have been the next year then.
yes.
So you were with Dad the very first year he went out,
Yes,
part of the time?
One was a Oliver and one was a Massey.
Okay,
Oh my gosh.
because that trailer, the first trailer, Dad was 6'2", we're told, and they had to move the couch in line with the trailer door because his feet stuck out. That's how tiny it was.
Yeah.
You gotta record this.
I know.
Her, and no running water or bathroom.
And wasn't it pink?
I don't
I
know.
think that trailer was pink.
Well, that was the bunt trailer was
I
pink.
don't know. I know there was a pink trailer.
It was the bunt trailer.
Well, I remember, well, I'm sure you remember too, when they lived in Burton. That's when you started, it was in Burton.
In Burton,
Yeah, you lived in Burton when your
Right.
dad started.
right.
That's
I
right.
can still see that house there on that side of the street.
And you know that house is still there,
Oh,
it's
really?
right south of the barn. The next block
Oh.
south of the barn restaurant.
Yes.
That house is still there, and it was white,
So-
now it's, brownish color, but the front is exactly the same.
Which side of the street would it
It's
be?
on, it would be on the
On
west
the
side.
west side
Yeah, it was
of
on
the
the west
street by
side.
the barn?
Yeah. So go around the block from the barn.
Yeah.
The actual garage that was separate
Yeah.
is still there.
Really?
Yeah.
Gosh.
And I had a chance to go in it, you know, snoopy as I am. I just knocked on the door and told them my history, and they let me go through the house, and they are still, I think, the original owners that bought it from my parents. And that was in, okay, how old would I be that was 1960. 1960, my parents moved from Burton to Peabody.
In when?
1960. I was in first grade when we moved out there and lived in the trailer.
And that's where we lived. When you went to harvest, we stayed in that house. We lived in that house in Burton. And it's
You
just
and
like,
Aunt Carol?
yes. And it's just like, now, there's a storm approaching. The city sirens are taking off, you know? And I told Carol, let's get under the table. And then I got to thinking, no, Ray, let's get in the car and let's get going. But it's just like, long story short, here's the rest of the story. It was like a storm was coming, but the siren was about a house that was burning just to the east of us. And how that happened, I don't know. But so we drove around the block, and here comes this little fire engine. It's just like, this is antique. And it's just like, they're coming up to that house. They passed up that house, they couldn't have brakes or something, but anyhow, that's where the fire was. And it's just like, and I got the ugliest haircut at that barber in that town. It's like, never go back.
So you were house sitting while we were on the harvest?
Yes.
Oh,
See,
see,
we,
I never.
see, we had a trailer house where we started out in.
Yeah.
And so when we came back from Michigan, well, we moved to Michigan, that's another story. But I mean, we stayed on your place there in the trailer.
Burton.
And when you got to harvesting, you said, come live in the house.
Okay.
And that's what we did.
Then what did we do with you when we got back?
Took me out on the street. No, that was another story, just like, then we moved out, or of course, you know, and we moved on to D.M. Schroeder's place. Long story.
Out in the country here?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, you were first at the Penners.
Well, no, that was D.M. Schroeder first, and that's where Eileen was born.
Where is that place?
It's
Not there
3
anymore.
east and
It's not there anymore.
half a mile north of Buhler. And then we moved on to the Panner place, because we had to move off of that place because Frank Dick was buying that quarter. And, so we had to move off of that. We moved on to the Tanner place where they have, they had every spring they had, the
Samplers, country samplers.
samplers. And after we were there a year, we bought that house.
Yeah.
Guess how much we paid for it? $1,000.
Oh, my. But it was a fixer-upper.
Well, kinda like that.
And that's the house you moved
On Dutch Avenue.
on Dutch Avenue?
No, wait,
No.
no,
In
Inman,
the middle
yeah,
road. In the middle road.
yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
along
then,
the creek there.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that's $1,000 we paid for that house. And, of course, then there's another story to all
What
that.
year was that?
Well, that could have been about
61,
61.
62.
Yeah.
Eileen was already born.
Yeah. But,
I remember being at the Tenor Farm, so maybe 1963. I don't know.
But, from a little shacky trailer to what we had later on, pretty good. End of my
Probably
story.
sold that place for a little more than $1,000.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was before her.